The High Court says it will consider moving to federal court a state lawsuit involving the treatment of 4 research monkeys. The research involves the animals' ability to use their limbs after nerves have been cut. Animal rights groups say the monkeys didn't get enough food, water, and veterinary care. The term animal rights activist had never been heard of decades ago when Research Triangle Park was just an idea. Being a member of the local Humane Society was about as active as it got back then. But times have changed. The park is a major success, and animal rights activists are everywhere. Now the two are clashing. For the next 2 nights, WTVD 11 News is going to present a special team report on the use of animals for medical research. Tonight, Ed Crump tells us why and how many animals are being used for research in the heart of Carolina.
It was inevitable that animal testing would come to the Raleigh-Durham metropolitan area. The highly touted and nationally recognized Research Triangle Park has developed into everything its founders hoped it would. It has attracted world-renowned high-tech companies specializing in everything from telecommunications and computers to chemicals and pharmaceuticals. The latter 2 industries have been engaged in animal research for years, and the firms in RTP are no exception.
I view it as a privilege to use laboratory animals, not a right that comes to me, and I want to maintain that privilege.
Veterinarian Dr. Roger McClellan is head of the Chemical Industry Institute of Toxicology in Research Triangle Park. CIIT is a private, nonprofit institute funded by major chemical producers. Dr. McClellan says while CIIT uses animals to test, among other things, chemical toxicity, it is also constantly trying to reduce the number of animals it needs for experiments.
We are interested in minimizing the number of animals used in experiments for several reasons. One is the humanitarian reason to just reduce the number of animals that have to be used, and secondly, the expense that's involved.
While doctors here at the Chemical Industry Institute of Toxicology use only rats in their labs now, they did at one time experiment with monkeys. The United States Department of Agriculture, which regulates the use of animals in labs, requires reporting of all mammals. That is, all mammals except for rats. However, the folks here at CIIT even report their rat population. Of the 10 companies and industry groups in North Carolina that report the use of laboratory animals, almost all of them, 8, are here in our area. They are Cutter Biological in Clayton, Abbott Laboratories in Rocky Mount, Central Biologics in Anger. Also using various lab animals are Glaxo, Burroughs Wellcome, Becton Dickinson, CIIT, and NSI, all in Research Triangle Park. The latest reporting figures available from USDA show that combined, those firms use 1,710 dogs, 758 cats, 8,862 guinea pigs, 350 hamsters, 5,531 rabbits, and 15 primates. And those who reported using rats and mice say they are using 176,143 of them, as well as 552 other animals such as ferrets, gerbils, and pigeons. The grand total comes to almost 200,000 animals. Many animals are also used by hospitals, universities, and other institutions in our area. For years, no one ever questioned that use, but now, because the practice is coming under increasing scrutiny, a new group has been formed to defend the practice. Karen Hoffman is the spokesperson for the North Carolina Association for Biomedical Research.
Yes, in the last couple of years, there has been some misinformation or distortion that has been portrayed, and we would like to make sure that we set the record straight on this issue.
Hoffman, as well as Dr. McClellan, are advocates of the use of animals in research, as long as the animals are treated humanely and subjected to as little pain as possible. But there are many opposed to the practice, and they range from those who think there should be less of it to those who think there should be no animal experiments at all.
What we owe these animals is more than just kindness and compassion, as in the Animal Welfare Act. What we owe them, I believe, is justice and respect.
While folks like Hogwitz wage war against the use of animals in labs, those who conduct the experiments find themselves living in fear that if the right to use lab animals is taken away, science will be dealt a setback it may never overcome. Ed Crump, WTVD 11 News.
Tomorrow, as our special team report continues, HealthWise reporter Kelly McHenry will look at both sides of the lab animal issue. She'll talk to one man who believes he's alive today because of a medical procedure first tested on animals. The unseasonably warm weather
the center of a raging controversy. Is it morally right to injure or even kill animals to further science and save human lives? WTVD's Kelly McHenry continues our special report with a look at both sides of this controversial issue.
Dick Atkinson loves to go jogging with his dog, Bo, but 15 seconds is how close he came to not even being here. 2 years ago, as he was driving to the emergency room for chest pains, he suffered a major heart attack and was clinically dead after he pulled into the parking lot. Doctors performed a quadruple bypass surgery, and he fully recovered. Much of the testing that went into his surgery was first performed back in the 60s on dogs, ironically, but Atkinson supports such testing.
I believe this is done because they feel that it is necessary for the saving of life, and I do believe that this was a major contribution toward saving my life.
His doctor, Jim Lowe of Duke University, says modern medicine owes much of its success to animal testing, including vaccines for measles and mumps, as well as surgical procedures. He says he would have great difficulty operating on a patient without having first tried the procedure on an animal.
I would feel uncomfortable doing it because I would not think the therapy had been perfected enough to try in a human patient.
So it's risky?
It's risky, absolutely.
He adds animals as well as people have benefited from the medical breakthroughs. But animal rights activists say instead of using these animals for testing, we should develop other means, including computer models and even testing of aborted fetuses, which they believe would more closely represent human reactions to drugs or surgery. At this fur protest in Durham last week, activist Dietrich Halgwitz said animal models sometimes make lousy candidates for human research.
About 4 million Americans are hospitalized every year because of adverse reactions to drugs that had been tested very thoroughly on animals.
This issue is so sensitive, Duke University refused to allow our cameras in to see any of the animal testing going on here. They say they are committed to the humane treatment of their animals and follow all federal guidelines for testing. But they say they are scared of someone sabotaging the labs and destroying their experiments. So the two sides are dug in as the debate continues whether animal testing is a cruel and inhumane treatment or necessary to sustain and protect human life. Kelly McHenry, WTVD 11 News.
The expansion of a Raleigh business is enabling the